Hi, I'm Jake, and I've been drawing Pokemon since I was 7 years old. Today's video is a little bit different for the Iopa region in that I'm going to be sharing some human characters and also sharing a bit about the story and the lore of the region. But don't worry, there's still Fakemon in it as well at the end of the video, so stick around for those. So no Pokemon game is complete without you, the player character. In every game, you select from a male or a female protagonist that you play as on your journey. I feel like I need to tell you all that I do not like drawing humans, and you can see there in the top corner that this was my last attempt at drawing Pokemon trainers, which was 2020, so that was 5 years ago. So let's see if my skills improve, but I tried to use these as a base or an inspiration to tweak them and see how would they look in a Greek-inspired region. Before we delve too deep into the design decisions behind these characters, I feel like I need to tell you the overarching theme of all the main characters in this region. Hopefully you've picked up by now, if you've watched my videos, that Iopa is based off ancient Greece. And one of the biggest ancient Greek myths is the Olympians versus the Titans. The Titanomachy? That was me reading off Google, but that doesn't sound right. Anyway, the inspiration for this is that the Iopa region is currently ruled by the Titans, and the younger generation of Olympians want to change that. They want to take over the region, let's say to improve the lives of the people and the Pokemon that live in Iopa. And obviously, the Titans do not want to give up their power, so oppose the Olympians. There are 12 Olympians, plus or minus a few additional ones that are thrown into the mix usually. So I've ended up on 14 main characters. They're not all going to be in this video, but we're starting with 5. So for the player characters, I decided to base the female off Hestia and the male off Hermes. Hestia is the goddess of the home and the hearth, which is why I gave the female character red hair to represent almost like a red fire. I felt like Hestia being the goddess of home fit the player character because you leave home and often come back home at the end of the game. I placed her hand over her heart as a nod to the phrase, home is where the heart is. I initially really struggled with the posing of the male character, so I decided to scrap it and just try again. Like I said, the male player character is based on Hermes, the messenger of the gods and the god of travellers, commerce, things like that. I thought that really fit the vibe of a player character because, like I said before, you leave your hometown to go on a journey. So this is why I drew the player character in that running pose. On a side note, I think that I found these two characters very hard to draw in comparison to the other characters because the player characters are usually very bland, like they're intentionally made that way so you can put your personality onto them. So I was trying to bear that in mind when I was making them. So without further ado, let me know down below if you're picking Ermen or Tia. I personally prefer when Pokemon games have multiple rivals. So irrespective of who you choose, the opposite will also join you on your journey as a friendly rival. But don't get me wrong, I miss the days where Game Freak wasn't afraid to give you a nasty rival. I mean, I guess he did it a bit with Bede and Gladion, but he turned good in the end. Imagine that the main characters are Red and Leaf, and this is the blue of the game, the Gary Oak. And since you're asking, which Olympian god would be perfect for a nasty rival? Well, that would be Hades, of course. In terms of colour schemes, you might have picked up on the fact that I gave Ermen and Tia a blue and pinky red colour scheme. So to complete the trio, I gave this character a green colour scheme, as well as a darker colour scheme in general to represent Hades and that darker nature. This is Hadria. They'll be much more antagonistic and stronger in comparison to Ermen and Tia, and challenge you to many more battles throughout your journey in comparison. For our trio to safely go on their adventure, they're going to need some starter Pokemon, which means we need a Pokemon Professor to give them to them. I decided to base our Pokemon Professor off Hera, the goddess of marriage, women and family. I thought that was a really good theme to be the Pokemon Professor and give out the starter Pokemon. I also wanted to make her pregnant because, well, you'll see why later on, but I thought we've never had a pregnant Pokemon character before. It's probably because Pokemon or Game Freak don't want to insinuate what's happened before that, but I think it's nice to include. It also gives me the opportunity to weave this into the overarching story, which I thought would be cool and maybe raise the stakes a bit in this war against the Titans. I did make a slight mistake here with the colour scheme, and I'll explain it in a second, but for now, introducing Professor Alba. Usually the professors have a special interest, so I thought that Professor Alba could be interested in the lifespan of Pokemon. It's a topic that hasn't been explored in the franchise yet, and I think links well to the overall theme of my region, which I haven't announced yet. I'm actually saving until I do the Legendaries video, which is going to be coming soon. So yeah, going back to the mistake that I made, I actually posted this design in my Discord, so quick plug, if you aren't in my Discord, you get to see some designs earlier and help me with the designs too. So why on earth wouldn't you join? Anyway, I accidentally based it off Rhea, which is Zeus's mum. Rhea's symbol is the silver fur, which is why I gave her the dark green dress with the silver accessories. I want Professor Alba to be married to the Zeus-inspired character, so I had to change her to Zeus's wife, Hera. And Hera's symbol is the pomegranate, which is why I changed her dress to that pinky colour and changed her accessory to look like a lotus, which is another one of her symbols. Anyway, getting back to the story, Professor Alba thought that you three would be the perfect trainers to give starter Pokemon to, and the starter Pokemon in this region actually come in the form of eggs, to link to Hera's theme of being maternal, and as a nod to Professor Alba being pregnant. So I imagine she'd make you go on a short walk around the starting town or down to the beach or something like that, and then your egg would hatch into your starter Pokemon, Budcub, Calicaftos or Aristotle. So as I alluded to before, Professor Alba is married to a character inspired by Zeus, and obviously you can't have a Greek inspired region without a character inspired by Zeus. Like, come on. Zeus is obviously the leader of the Olympians and would act as this in the game as well. But when you first meet him, he's trying to keep a low profile because the Titan leader is well aware of Zeus's plans to overthrow him and is trying to find him at every cost. That's why I drew him with his back to the camera and gave him that shawl that he would use to hide his face if anyone from the Titans tried to find him. I gave him blue eyes, the jagged hair and the yellow accents to link to the God of Thunder. So introducing the Olympian leader in hiding, Zenon. At first, he wouldn't really say much to the player character, but he would allude to the fact that he chose you three to go about the region and gather up people to fight for him because his face is well known amongst the Titans and he doesn't want to get caught. Eventually, he tasks the player to be his messenger or recruiter to find strong trainers across the region to join in his fight against the Titans. I also feel like I need to say how proud I am of this artwork because it's probably the best human I've ever drawn. So anyway, you set off on your journey across the first island of the region, looking for strong trainers to join Zeus's cause. Eventually, you'll end up in Heracle City, where your first gym leader, although I haven't decided if I'm going to be calling them gym leaders yet. I suppose they're not gym leaders because they're just strong trainers in the area that you feel could be recruited to help Zeus's cause. So yeah, you'd meet this guy at the Colosso ruins, and at that point he's inspecting the mosaics and the artwork of the ruins because that's what he's into. He is into arts and pottery and anything like that. That's because this main character is inspired by the god Apollo, which is the god of music and arts, things like that. So during the course of the story, I think you would end up teaming up with him to take on a couple of the Titan grunts. I've not decided on their official name yet, so we're just calling them the Titans for now, but the evil team of the region. And after seeing his potential, you would challenge him to some kind of recruitment battle to see if he's worthy to join Zeus's team. So this is Argelo, one of the first main characters that you'll meet on your journey. He's a potter by profession, but interested in all kinds of arts throughout the Iopa region. So his team would reflect that. He'd have things like Buzzybody to represent mosaics, he'd have Terracotta to represent pottery, but also a new Fakemon. So previously you've seen me use the silhouette method for my design process, but this is another way that I like to design my Fakemon. I call it the 3 or the 4 eyes method. The first eye being intent, so what's the purpose of the Pokemon? Second eye being inspo, what is the Pokemon inspired by? Then the third and fourth being identity or individuality, so what's the wow factor for the Pokemon and what's its personality? This little lump of clay acts as the eevee of my region, introducing Potty, the malleable Pokemon. They are playful Pokemon who constantly shift their form. No two potty look the same. Small pebbles and ores often get stuck in their sticky bodies. I'm not too sure on its name, I might change it in the future, but it kind of reminded me of that kid-like vibe that I'm going for here. Not much changes with Potty's shiny, I just kind of switched the colours around and changed the colours of the stones. I thought that a clay Pokemon would be the perfect opportunity to be the Eevee of my region, because clay is so versatile and well used throughout ancient Greece. So I'm only going to reveal 2 of its evolutions in this video. I'm going to save some others for future videos. As you've probably guessed by now, this is the evolution of Potty if you give it a Firestone, and it's based on clay ovens and cooking, and the vibe I'm going for is just a jolly guy that can cook you a nice meal but also fire your pottery. So when Potty is exposed to a Firestone, it will evolve into Kilnacue, the oven Pokemon. The heat from its belly is very versatile. Some trainers use it to fire pottery, whilst others use it to cook food to perfection. Experts can even create glass sculptures with it. Kilnacue keeps the ground type from Potty, but also gains the fire type and the ability Flame Body. Stats are inspired by eeveelutions, because that's the vibe of this whole line. And for the shiny colour variant, I just gave it darker, more clay coloured themes. For Potty's evolution with a water stone, I originally struggled a little bit. I didn't know if to just make it an amphora, you know, like the traditional Greek pots, but then I felt like that was too similar to my Pewphora and terracotta line. So instead I decided to make it based on a fountain, with more feminine themes in contrast to Kilnacue. I suppose it kind of links to the Aquarius constellation as well. I found the posing of this one really hard, if you couldn't tell. And what you're seeing is actually the back of the Pokemon. So the hole in the back of its head is where the water comes out, but I've now seen it as a mouth and I can't really unsee it, so I might have to repose it. Introducing Fontarius, the fountain Pokemon. Its body constantly filters and recycles rainwater into refreshing drinking water. It will allow those in need to drink from its waters. In contrast to Kilnacue, Fontarius is much more defensive with its hydration ability as well. I stuck with the same shiny colour scheme and just made it much more clay-like. This would be Argelo's team. He'd have a terracotta, a Kilnacue and a buzzy body. As you can see, there's no type theme, it's all based on his character theme. This might look like a tough team for what's potentially the first gym leader, but you know, I think it's time we had some games with a bit of a challenge really. So thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I hope that you enjoyed meeting these new characters, the new Fakemon, and understanding a bit more about the story and lore of the Iopa region. It would mean the world to me if you could like, comment and subscribe on this video. And don't forget to join my Discord if you want to interact with me about the Iopa region or share your own Fakemon. So thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!